Hello and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Movie Snob. We're glad to be back, folks.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the world today, and this is going to be already a dated podcast because we just found out about the election yesterday in our life, so we're still figuring out.
Processing the news.
Things are different now.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whatever. The point is, we could be in a different.
We're in
society.
a green M&M world now.
Yeah. I don't even know.
That's the election we're talking about?
I don't even know. Yeah, that's
the
right.
new M&M?
I thought it was who can have giraffes and who can't have giraffes. That's the social post I saw going around a lot. Whether you need a permit or you don't need a permit.
Pets are on the menu.
They are. Folks, but we are going to get out of the modernness of things. We're going to go a little back in time. We are still continuing our series of sharing our top 10. Our top 10 share-a-rama.
Imposing our top 10s
That's right.
on each other.
Last week, we did... Oh my! I don't even remember last week. That's how things are working. Who was last week? Was it me?
We did
It was
Mariah.
me.
It was Mariah.
believe.
Oh, we did the Quiet Man.
The Quiet Man.
It was lovely. It was surprisingly different.
Yeah.
For a
So we're
John
staying-
Wayne, John Ford.
We're going to be
Really?
staying in a similar part of the world
Yes.
for this next
and
one.
we're also gonna be staying in
Not
seriously.
the same year.
This is your movie you chose, Pat? Like, it's a similar feel. When I thought about Mariah
It's wild
picking
to
that
me,
movie,
too, to be honest.
it's very similar.
It's
to,
wild.
Yes, this is kind of a wild one. So we're still in the Isles of the British land. We're in a different time era. We're not in the 2025s, in case you're wondering, or 2024s. Depends when you listen to this podcast.
What
I'm just
year is
future-proofing it, guys. Just future-proofing it. We are, I don't want to be too classy or classless, but class is a thing. Class, you gotta bring it into it, yeah. And no, we're not talking about the Saved by the Bell movie, although it was great. Not that kind of class, but we're talking like social classes, if you will. What other things can we say about this movie without giving it away? It is
It's a dark comedy.
dark comedy. It is award-winning, Oscar-winning. It has one of the...
Collaboration of countries.
It is a collaboration of countries. And ironically enough, an American director. Very surprising when I saw that. And I was even more surprised by who that director was. Did not know the man of his resume did this movie. There's a lot of things about this that confuse the heck out of me. And it's the inspiration for one of the most popular TV shows of our era.
Yes.
I know. There's a lot going on here. Pat, what movie did you choose?
I chose, believe it or not, 2001's Gosford Park,
Wow.
directed by one Robert Altman,
The legend.
based off an
American.
idea by Bob Balaban and Robert Altman,
What
and
is
written
going on?
by one Julian Fellows
Oh, my
of
goodness.
Downton Abbey
Fame.
fame.
Struggling actor.
Wow. Wow.
What a weird movie this is, eh?
Wow. Well, it's. I don't think weird is the way I would put it. Just because of what I've been. In fact,
The ingredients of it.
Oh, the ingredients for sure.
It's a normal recipe with very unusual ingredients, maybe.
I don't even know if I'd go there, and maybe it's just because this is like the British murderer's row of actors, much like we talked about in Hero. It was like the murderer's row of Chinese actors of that era. This is the same thing. All these actors, whether it be from Harry Potter or Downton Abbey or any British thing that you turned on, they're probably in it. It's just
Ted Lasso, Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Pride and
What else do we
Prejudice.
have? Yeah. A bit of Fry and Laurie.
Little Harry
You know.
Potter.
Yeah. All sorts.
Oh my goodness, it's a crazy one. Okay. So before we get into our reactions, let's go with cold brews and hot takes. And I'm gonna start us off since this is Pat's movie. You know,
Okay.
I'm just gonna, and Pat is usually a Bodhisattva guy. He likes the Bodhisattva. He likes so I went with the same
Whoa.
brewery, and I found their porter, and it's the Georgetown Brewery 9-pound porter. So I was just trying to get into the what is Pat likes this
Get
brewery a
into
lot.
the mind of Pat.
But obviously,
Yeah,
Pat and I
what
are not the
is
same
with this
person.
guy?
So I went with a porter rather than the
Good one.
the classic IPA or hazy like every other Oregonian or Washingtonian would. And it's quite good actually. So a hot take. I didn't know they made a less good Downton Abbey until I watched this. I didn't know that. It's amazing you can have better actors but still have a worse product. I was really surprised that this could be so almost as good as Downton Abbey. I was really surprised about how I just wish I was watching Downton Abbey instead. I didn't know I'd get to that point, but I really realized watching this made me realize how much better it is with a better budget and modern filming equipment. No, actually, the cinematography is great.
Interesting.
I won't think, but
Downton Abbey had more time, to be fair.
I know. And actually, my real hot take was like, you know, it'd be great if they made this into a longer show, so you could develop the characters more. Because that's really why Downton Abbey's better. This is a movie. That's a TV show. So Downton Abbey got it right, knowing that these characters would be way more fun to develop. And this was a show that my mom would watch
And has.
and has.
I don't hate that hot take. I hate it.
And I don't know if I was a real hate for this movie, but I just kept thinking, I've seen this already, and I didn't know that these guys wrote Downton Abbey. I'm like, Downton Abbey ripped this off. This is the same thing, down to Maggie Smith. This is ridiculous.
Yes.
And now then I'm like, oh, it's the same people. I'm
Reprises her role, basically.
Yep. So there we go. That's my not hot take.
Okay.
All right, Pat. Do you want
What about you,
Ryan?
Mariah? We gotta go, Mariah.
It is Pat's movie, so we should let him go last.
You guys know how I love a hot take.
I do know you love a hot take.
Well, while I'm trying to decide on it, I'm going to tell you that I'm drinking unicorns and rainbows
What a
today.
surprise! One of your top three.
You know, classic for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a mashup of Agatha Christie and Downton Abbey and Clue and all of the
Clue.
best. It's just a mashup, really. I don't even know if that's...
I like that.
I don't want to keep
Is
going.
the mash up an intentional
Hey!
phrasing?
Speaking of mashup,
Speaking of Mr. Robert Altman, I still can't believe that. And Nashville, I just watched Nashville the other day. It's an insane movie that makes no sense that the guy who directed MASH and this directed Nashville. It makes no sense. Anyways, another day.
But I feel like
wouldn't be the
'cause he also
first
directed
director
the player.
to make no sense.
Yeah.
I feel like he also directed. Well, he directed the player, and I think it does have a stronger connection, kind of with that in a lot of ways.
Oh, for
And
sure.
just ensembles. Anyway,
Yeah, that's true. Touche. Yeah, that's a good point.
my cold brew is a trickster.
Ooh.
As this movie's got a few tricks up its
Nice
sleeves by
job.
Black Raven.
I like that can. That's a good can right there.
It is a good can. It's a good beer.
Put a bird on it.
Put a bird on it. And Gosford Park.
Yes. Oh, I have the DVD around here somewhere. Oh, it's upstairs still. I have the DVD though.
It's a whodunit where the murder mystery is the least interesting part.
Yes. This is so true. It's
And,
so true.
The
I believe
whodunit
Robert
that
Altman
didn't
called
matter.
A who cares whodunit.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
that's awesome.
I love that take so much.
yeah. Good one.
I was like, who knew I'd be pining for Agatha Christie over this? That's what I was really surprised about. I'm like, yeah.
Well,
anyways, okay.
They looked at Agatha Christie, unproduced Agatha Christie's, and they're like, they've all kind of been done.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Well, they did talk about Charlie Chan.
That was pretty funny.
So I hadn't seen this movie in a really long time, since before watching Downton Abbey.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
So rewatching this, having gone post Downton Abbey, was wild.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is like, oh, yeah, this is just...
Oh, my goodness.
This is that.
Oh, good.
And we're not in fun facts yet, but Downton Abbey was initially built as a spin-off of this movie.
Of Gosford Park, yeah. Which would have been great, too, because then they would just build out these characters, which would be so interesting.
Yeah. And they're like, let's go back a little more. But Maggie Smith is the same character.
So fun in Downton Abbey. Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's super fun.
But yeah, okay. So anyway, like to me, I mean, we'll get into is it still in my top 10 at the end, but it was, I had so much distance between the last time I'd seen it, my memory of what the movie was, and then watching it this time. And, and I think I went both ways in that I appreciated parts of it way more, and other parts I was like, oh gosh, I remember this being, more of X and less of Y. And I'd be curious. One, have you both of you seen this? I know, Mariah, you'd seen it before.
Negative. I have not seen this.
But Seth, you had
Definitely.
not. Okay, so what was your...
But I wasn't aware that it was Julian Fellows. And
well, when you watched it, you wouldn't have known who he was.
No, because this was
yet.
what made Julian Fellows. There wouldn't have been Downton Abbey if he hadn't been given this opportunity to write this. So
and there's a big gap between this movie and when Downton Abbey came out.
Yeah.
No, for sure. That's the confusing part.
Well, it's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, 2010, right? So
too.
Yeah, we did a few things
10
before.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
my first
what was your
reaction,
first
Pat,
impressions?
was this is my hot take is my first reaction. Like, seriously, this is I've seen this before. Like, even though I haven't seen this before, I've seen this before. And I kept thinking, like, why is it so similar? Like, the mannerisms of the head butler, the stinginess, the aloofness of one character, it was so, and it felt like a TV show just with a Hollywood like look. So I couldn't figure out what's going on, and it's hard now because Netflix shows look like Hollywood now and everything else. So not knowing the connection until I like pulled it up on Wikipedia, I'm like, oh, so this is the reason for Downton Abbey. So I should give it its due, but it's also hard because I felt like I've seen this because I've seen all the other British murder mystery shows and everything else. It is a better done show for sure with actual production value with a bunch of the best actors who've ever done it. But it's the same. But I was not.
It is. It's interesting that it's hurt. Because I agree. It's hurt because Downton Abbey exists.
Oh, exactly. Right.
If it didn't, you'd be like, whoa.
Really good. Yeah. For sure.
Look at how interesting this upstairs downstairs thing. I know that existed previously, but this took it up a notch, and where Downton Abbey kept going, and
that's right.
Really dug into those characters. Seeing this for the first time, you're like, whoa,
very fun.
What a cool take on this society situation, and
yes,
classes and how snobby even everyone.
Yeah, the murder was the least interesting part of this whole movie. It kind of felt like, that's where I was like, well, why have the murder if you're not going to resolve? And the bumbling inspector took me out of it a couple times. I was like, okay,
this you didn't like Stephen Fry?
I love Stephen Fry, but it felt not in the mood of. It felt like I was watching Dr. Brown or Perot or whatever the BBC movies or TV shows are. It felt because it was going back and forth between the seriousness and lightness and funniness and absurdity. Obviously, the whole point of this is the absurdness of class. How absurd classism is in that era of England is great. It was just great. They outline that perfectly, and I love the context of the thing. So I want to jump into the director a little bit, and so that was my first impression of it. So it was okay. This is like when I first watched like The Shine. Oh, what was it? The Shining or Alien. I'd never seen it before, but I've seen it so many times over and over again. It's like it kind of ruins your first time watching it because
it's like a parody of itself
I've
somehow.
Seen it so many times, but it still played off like
the original.
A really good episode of this should have been my hot take. This is a pretty good episode of Downton Abbey. Like this is a good. Episode.
Maybe a two-parter.
Yeah, like maybe 2 episodes here. It's really good. Like the house next door to them or something. That would have been a good one. Like maybe make a couple cameos. They got
invited to a shooting.
Yeah. Really good episode. And then really good episode of Downton Abbey. So okay,
Mariah, what about you?
In rewatching it, and it had been so long that I didn't remember who'd done it.
Because it doesn't matter.
Or the dynamics of all the where everybody's stories were. And I also realized in rewatching it that I have had to luckily for me, I'd seen it so many times that I knew it takes multiple watches to get the gist, to pick up on everybody's storyline, because it is a condensed season of Downton Abbey.
Yeah, true.
Because, you got to pay attention.
Yeah, you have to pay attention. And there's stuff when I read the plot on the Wikipedia page that I didn't pick up on either. I'm like, oh, that's what they were like talking about, or like that's why he was blackmailing her. Oh, I didn't realize like that all happened. But there's each character just has such a rich. I mean, when Julian Fellows was like told this basic plot and told to develop some characters for it, I mean, he really developed some characters. Each character, like there isn't just like little side people that you don't know anything about them. You know everything about, at least something juicy about everybody, which makes it really intricate, a little difficult if you don't get to rewatch it and pick up on the things you miss. But there's a lot going on in here. And I do love what I did appreciate was that it wasn't just about upstairs, downstairs in the class, but I liked the piece where they have Ryan Phillippe's character jump from downstairs to upstairs, the whole pretending, and then the aftermath of him doing that, like how the downstairs treated him after he did that. And, it was that I thought that was kind of a cool piece that you don't get to see too much. You didn't see that in Downton Abbey very much either. So
the switching,
possibly the bigger betrayal in the movie was someone pretending to be
absolutely,
and not the murder, just like how dare you?
That was the best drama in it. That was more important than all of the affairs and anything else. But he was
a part of most of the affairs too. I mean,
that's true.
He had his hand in everything, and he didn't have a lot of he didn't have a lot of dialogue, but his character really had.
Sometimes it's better not to give Ryan Philippe too much dialogue. Let's just be
well, especially if he's doing it in a Scottish accent.
That was the thing on this rewatch. I was like,
he's out of place.
And it obviously that's part of the story, but it was still rough getting through that part. Everyone's like, he's not from any part of Scotland I'm aware of.
Yeah, that was great. I was like, oh, so he's obvious.
So they're aware, and then somebody earlier commented like, "What a weird accent." And
at least.
But
Mary
they don't
knew
assume
there was something fishy about it.
But no one said it's a bad accent. They're just like, something's off about this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Where I just thought that's worse than I would do, and I think that's intentional.
Yeah,
I hope.
Yeah, and that's why you give him a half pass.
Or when he falls out of it and then back into it.
Yeah, that's
what?
I turned on the subtitles, and the subtitles said in American accent,
English accent,
and it switched back and forth. So that was pretty funny. And it's also hard because you have all these like Hall of Fame actors, and then you have Ryan. I felt like I was watching the
At the time, he was still pretty relevant.
Relevant or not, I felt like. So this is my comparison. The 1992
and
Dream.
they weren't all dames yet.
Yeah, not yet, but still.
There's only two, I think.
You're watching the 1992 Dream Team, and he's Christian Laettner. Like, there's no question about it. Like, he's somehow on the team because he was the college kid that was kind of cool at the moment.
Well, he wasn't the first pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
He's a couple years off of Cruel Intentions.
Yep, which again, yeah, he's still married to Reese Witherspoon at this time.
I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, it was a few years before. Yeah, but still, it was like I kept thinking, there's Christian Laettner. They're gonna give him some floor time now. Okay, here we go.
He'll foul some people.
Nah, let's not worry about Magic and Bird. Let's get back to Christian Laettner. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to dig into Robert Altman a little bit?
I want to talk about.
Or do we even try and talk about the plot? I mean, real high level plot
fine.
is bunch of snooty people come to a house.
Yeah, for a hunting party. The head of the house gets killed.
We got to start in the year, guys. This happens in 1930s England in an aristocratic house where you have servants and you have nobility. And it takes place from the point of view of the servants. They never have scenes upstairs. They call them the upstairs and the downstairs without the servants being there. So this is from the perspective of the help, should I say? And then the plot ensues where you have a director and his star visiting a hunting party.
An American.
Unclear.
Well,
in the process of making a movie.
Making a movie that actually exists, along with a star who actually existed. Jeremy Northam's character is a real actor that existed, and he sang the songs that guy really sang. There's stuff like that where I was like,
cool, by the way. I did not know that.
Like,
that is
wait,
so
all
cool.
this was actually real?
Was just coming off of a flop, just as,
So cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that
not
Maggie
of
Smith
the
lines.
Lodger, but of the other one, I guess. It was kind of the Lodger. Yeah, it was weird how much was real.
Yeah.
They couldn't get
in
Charlie
a way that
Chaplin's name for the. That's what I
didn't matter to me.
Yeah. I think they name dropped quite a bit. Claudette Colbert.
Yeah, all of these old
Clara Bow.
Clara Bow, that was my favorite.
Yeah.
But they couldn't get Charlie Chaplin? Like, why couldn't they use Charlie Chaplin?
What do you mean?
Because they kept saying Charlie Chan.
Yeah, those are the mysteries.
Yeah, that's the murder.
Charlie Chan is a racist, Asian detective depiction.
Stop it! I literally thought
almost as bad as Mr. Yunioshi.
Yeah,
I literally was thinking.
But yeah, no, those
Charlie
are real
Chaplin.
mystery series.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta look that up.
No,
Charlie Chan.
Oh, that's.
And they do make Charlie Chan in London is a real movie that came out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Which is what they were working on, which is why he's doing this.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, you're like,
very meta.
What? Yeah. And in a way, again, when I watched it the first time, I had no clue.
Yeah.
I just thought, they're saying names. I don't know who these people are. And now I know more, and I'm like, wow, that's so wild.
Yeah. Was the knowledge make it worse, or did it make it more fun?
I think it made it more fun.
Because all the actors they mentioned, I know now. I know who Clara Bow is. Like, that was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. Apparently, I didn't know who Charlie Chan was, but that's embarrassing.
Yeah. That's you grow up in our house, you're gonna know more of those mysteries.
All the racist old shows. We love them all. We still make our kids
if there's a mystery involved, then yes.
That's true. That's fair.
But yeah, so there's a lot of family drama and dynamics going on, and then
this would be a hard one to explain.
Mr. McCordle,
Mr.
I guess,
McCordle,
is his name.
The jerk who has all the money.
Michael Gambon's character.
Shall I say
gets murdered?
Not Gandalf, but Dumbledore.
Yeah. Gets murdered, and there's somewhat an investigation, but not really. And then the movie ends.
Yeah. No, the lack of investigation. I figured the young guy was going to solve the real, because I've seen these so many times.
He sure
I literally
tried.
I love that.
The young guy was.
Look at this mud here.
What about these
Somebody
fingerprints?
will
And
take
the broken
care of that.
glass.
Stop worrying about it.
And he's like, the inspector thinks we'll be able to attacked us better from the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Oh, they
And
can
not
all go
wanting
home.
That's
fine.
fine.
Yeah.
They can all go home. Why reveal who it is?
We only want to talk to people who are close to the victim.
Oh, so
it's
hilarious.
great. I love that part.
I love the Steven
because it was
just seeing how like horrible he's
well,
doing.
and I think he added an interesting third tier to the class because he kept trying to introduce himself. She kept talking over him the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
so he's being dismissed by upstairs and he's dismissive of downstairs.
Yeah.
And because he's stuck in I want these people to like me, but they don't care at all. And he didn't really care at all.
Yeah.
I wonder, it's so funny that this is still an American director to me, because this whole concept of like appealing to the nobles is such a, like, that'd be, I suppose that'd be us and famous people, Americans. That's the closest thing we have to nobles, I guess. Like, I don't want to be next to a rich person because they're rich. That doesn't sound very.
No.
But no, it's different.
They're just rich, maybe
Yeah.
not cool. But if they're famous.
Oh, so funny. So I gotta mention how, I don't know if Robert Altman does this in all his movies, but he didn't read the script.
No.
He didn't.
I mean,
What?
He read it. He read it before, but he didn't
He wasn't
didn't read it.
He wasn't tracking.
rigorously on the day.
Okay, let's go. And action. That look good. It look good to you? Script. Are we gonna we didn't mention anything about the murder. Okay, I guess we gotta shoot that again. My bad. Okay, we're gonna do that again. It's just hilarious to me.
Or they go, but I really liked that. Julian, can you kind of make it work and help rewrite some scenes? And
if you're the script supervisor or the person who wrote the script, how much do you hate this director? That's all I kept thinking about. Like,
I don't know that a lot.
They all seem to like him though. Like, he seemed to be like a good.
Plenty of long shots. I don't know that there was a lot of continuity errors.
I think he cared about setting it up for success. I think getting all of the experts in there, that getting an actual cook and an actual butler, and having Julian there just knowing every single thing about the details.
Yep.
I think
and making sure everyone was on all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the crazy part. I mean,
that's my other favorite thing. Do you want to talk about the double camera approach?
100% his superpower. Yeah, I agree.
Each person mic'd.
Yeah, one mic'd. Nuts. He had two. Every shot had the camera moving. He had two cameras. No one really knew if they were in the shot or not.
Yeah.
They probably were.
Catch people.
How many shots had 20 people in them? Like, half of the shots had 20 people
in
them.
I think I read somewhere Sir Alan Bates didn't even have a line for like 40 minutes or something, and he's
just in it.
Just standing there. This knighted guy is just hanging around.
It's nuts.
And, a 6-week shoot, he was on set for 4 or 5 of them or something, I think they said. Crazy.
Just nuts.
But like, they all committed, and it made it feel really weird. And I think that's the thing I appreciated about this one, even differently than Downton Abbey, is this felt almost like a documentary.
Yeah.
Like, or you were walking through a play as it was happening, and you could look anywhere you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
just in there
play,
walking through them.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like, oh, did I catch what that person said? Oh, that's interesting. Like, should I know about that? Like,
I'm gonna walk
this
across
guy's playing
the room
the piano
and listen
the
to
whole
what
time.
they're saying.
Oh, it's nuts. This would be a good Apple Vision Pro. Like, have that for the whole thing. This would be a good movie.
There's a theater, kind of an experimental theater in New York called Sleep No More. I don't know if you guys heard about this.
It's
basically
when
this
I
play.
was hanging out in New York and going to different theaters.
Yeah.
I must.
You probably passed it.
I probably just. Did you see
I haven't.
it? I don't know.
Of course.
I haven't been to this.
You're more in the scene than I am.
haven't been to this. All right. I didn't go, but I've heard about it a bunch of times.
I'm getting salty.
But this movie to me seems like the movie version of that, where you go into this building and there's actors moving through this space, and you can choose to follow them. You can go over here, and so the story's different every time depending on what you focus on. And this feels in a way like that.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think to me made this feel really interesting in that you're like, what details matter? And then kind of at the end, you're like, this was just a glimpse of this crazy few days in these people's lives. And it doesn't resolve necessarily super cleanly, but at the same time, I think it does. Like,
yeah, emotionally, it does for sure. I'd say.
I just huge fan of how he set it up.
Financially, it clears up a lot.
Yeah,
of things
financially, it worked out real good for everyone. It seems.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of this happy ending.
It kind of is.
Like, all these people. In theory, the nicer people kind of ended up okay.
It's very Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very that like plot point. So.
Yeah. Kind of people got what was coming to them.
Death on the
Nile. Yeah. Everyone is equally miserable, or maybe the nice people are slightly better off. Hard to tell. But
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I love how Altman set this up.
Yeah. No.
I think that was the thing I appreciated more this time.
I
was
just
like
had to point out how ridiculous it is, though. Like it worked out great because the nice thing about the way he does it, he trusts his actors so much, and why wouldn't you with that cast? That he just said, "Oh, they're gonna kill it." I don't know what. I'm just here to make sure their egos don't get out of control.
Well, and he, part of that script not being strict to the script was wanting to be a little surprised. Mm-hmm. And if he was too restrictive, on what people said exactly how they said it, you might miss out on those interesting directions that happen. So as long as the overall plot is moving forward, not the most important part of the movie, it was like fine. And then you're like, oh yeah, that was cool what you did. And and I think it made everyone, to me, like Richard E. Grant's character is so appealing. He says hardly anything.
Yes.
But because he's always on
2 or 3 episodes in Downton Abbey for sure.
Yeah, because he's always on
episodes of Downton Abbey.
Oh, of course he did.
Yeah.
He was in it for a while.
He's just interesting the whole time, right? Like, everyone's kind of stealing scenes in this weird way, even though none of them are the focus.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. I really was kind of swept up in that. Yeah. And also kind of playing with the form, right? We got how many shots of poison we see in like the first half.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, somebody's going to get poisoned.
Poisoner's paradise. There's poison in every room here.
It's Chekhov's poison bottle. And you're like, all right, waiting for that to go off.
Yep.
And it kind of takes a long time. And then he gets shot at. You're sort of playing with all these things about the murder. And then you kind of go, oh, yeah, I guess the murder part didn't matter. The why it happened became interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just such a weird the movie is not at all what you think it should be.
No.
But I really enjoyed that.
Well, and there just isn't one protagonist in this movie. I mean, there's there's
single... 30. There's 30 protagonists.
I mean, there's
three.
Mary.
There's front runners. I mean, Mary's a front runner. Helen Mirren's character is a front
Clive
runner.
is in there.
Yeah, but seriously though, there's nobody gets the whole thing, and nobody gets nothing.
Mary is our view into the world.
Yeah,
and so
from
I think
downstairs,
she's as close to.
Yeah.
But she also doesn't have a journey she needs to go on, other than I guess getting a sense of what this life is she signed up for
and solving the murder.
Right, but even that's kind of like
she did solve it. I mean, literally. But apparently the inspectors didn't.
The
care.
one that didn't matter.
And then the one person, I'd kill for her. She says all these
for him,
and then she said, I'll say whatever you want me to say. Like she's.
Yeah, for Jennings.
Oh, it's so good.
This weird kind of love story that you didn't even know existed, and yeah, it's weird. This movie's weird in that I love it and also can understand post Downton Abbey, it feels less fresh than it really was when it came out. Like this felt like an unorthodox Agatha Christie-esque thing, but this wonderful dissection of classism.
It just is so weird that you chose this for your top 10 list last year. And that was well after Downton Abbey's been out here. That's the confusing part to me. And we'll get to your...
Well, it's because I put it in when I'd watched it box. Mm-hmm. And I thought that my experience with this movie and what I like about movies in general, this movie checked a ton of those boxes. And I hadn't revisited it since Downton Abbey.
You can watch with your mom. Check.
Most important.
Big check.
That's all I had.
Good acting. I do remember the mystery being more mysterious when I was younger. And this time I thought, oh yeah, that doesn't matter. But there is a lot of mysteries, like, or things to unearth. The dynamic between the sisters, Helen Mirren. You don't know they're sisters till pretty late. And here, the orphan. There's it's like the mystery you're meant to solve that Mary does solve is the one you didn't know you were trying to solve, right? You just thought these were, I'm just curious about these characters' backstories, but that is the meaningful mystery. And then the withholding, that the mother and son don't reconnect, and being like, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But she did this thing for him, and as long as he's okay,
this is embarrassing, but did he ever figure out that she's her mother?
No.
His mother?
No.
He didn't. No.
What?
He didn't. Yeah, she did, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Because he was told she died.
Yeah.
This is the most British.
Yeah, don't have feelings.
Repress.
Oh my gosh.
Also, check that box for Pat. Not too many feelings.
Feeling. I like that.
Not outward.
Anyway. A little bit.
Yeah.
And when Helen Mirren starts crying, his sister comes in and is like, "Stop it!
Stop crying!" It was so funny.
Yeah. They're gonna hear you.
Literally laughing when she said, "Stop crying." I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is why."
Stop crying, Jane. They're gonna hear you.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, okay. The cinematographer is also like the director when he just does whatever. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Just keep moving that camera.
So Andrew Dunn is the cinematographer. And let's just go through some of these movies. The Bodyguard, 1992. Obviously, this screams out, I did The Bodyguard, obviously.
Yeah.
The Madness of King George, that makes a little more sense. The Crucible, okay. Crazy Stupid Love, 2011? Are you kidding me?
That's a good movie.
That's a great movie. Perks of Being a Wallflower.
And it's kind of an ensemble. Everybody's in the shot a lot. You can see it. I can see Crazy Stupid Love making sense.
It is a Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling movie. Emma, I even forgot Emma was in it.
Stone.
Emma Stone's barely in it. Again, it's a duo.
The son and the babysitter have pretty big parts.
Again, they're great. Yeah.
The neighbor, it's a two-person. The babysitter's parents have big parts.
Again,
I think there's a lot of stuff. Marissa Tomei.
I love Marissa Tomei.
She does not have a big part in it.
But it's not.
But she is in there.
It's Ryan Gosling. Say what you want, guys. Not an ensemble. This was an ensemble. This is the most. This is the most ensemble.
You
ensemble.
Couldn't squeeze many more people in.
Ocean's 11's whoa, slow down, guys. Just hold back a little bit, all right? That's how ensemble this was. So again, it's one of those things where it's this. It doesn't feel like, this is the guy that does this sort of thing. It's just a guy who gets the job done and does it real good. Real good. He's also British, so that probably helped. And they shot the house. I am so impressed when they shoot houses well. It's so hard when you don't have the ceiling space to light things right. And when you're making everything in part of the frame.
Well, and houses that old too,
Holy
where they are
crap,
so dark.
that must have been so hard. So
cramped.
It's
right. All those little
it
rooms.
just stresses me
open.
out.
There's doors everywhere.
The scenes where they're walking through the party, and they're walking into the big, like, you know, the lounge room or whatever. And that scene, I was like, it's hard to explain how hard this is to do. Because it's such a, like, oh, it's just a room where everyone walks into. Sure. But everyone's got to be in focus. Everyone's got to be, because you can't just pick your person.
Well, the dining table, too. I mean, the dinner.
Well, really you don't even necessarily know what everyone's going to be doing in their blocking. You know, you've got some amount of that. But, and you're also playing with two different tracks. Yeah. Apparently the cameras would often like bump into each other because they're like, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm supposed to be here.
They just put them on Roombas and let them loose.
All right, guys, let's see what happens.
Eventually, they're going to hit every corner of this room. I know
Just a couple GoPros on Roombas. Yeah. That's all it was.
Well, you know, I mean, it's sort of this interesting thing. You know, the Zone of Interest took this to where the umpteenth level, right?
Yeah,
where they
that's
just planted cameras.
That's like hidden
But
cameras,
like the idea that you didn't really know what the camera was looking at, and you're just performing like a play, more like theater.
Well, definitely more.
And
like
the camera gets what it gets. I think that is so fun and interesting, and it keeps. I imagine that was more exhausting, but maybe more fun as an actor. Like. You're just always there to flesh out the scene, and you never know if, you know, some interesting little thing you do is going to get picked up and they're going to put in. But, you know, remember when Jeremy Northam's playing the piano and then Alan Bates is Jennings back there, like kind of doing a little dance, and you're like, that's cute. And he probably didn't necessarily know he was even in the shot, but he's doing his little thing. All that.
All of it's great. And then
so good.
They're just getting, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm still reading through what this guy's done. It's hilarious. Let's go from, do you remember the movie
The
Hush?
Butler was another one I think he was.
Addicted to Love.
Oh,
Practical
I do remember the
Magic.
movie Hush.
Remember that, like, so late 90s.
I just watched it like twice last month.
Stop it, you did not.
It was October.
Oh my gosh, you cracked me up.
And you got to watch
Practical Magic. Remember Monkey Bone with Brendan Fraser?
I didn't.
Yeah, I do remember.
Count of Monte Cristo, he did that one.
Oh, I loved that
movie. He did
the
Sweet
Jim
Home
Caviezel.
Alabama, What a Girl Wants. He did Hitch.
Who?
He did Hot Rod.
Wow. That's kind of crazy.
He did Precious.
Wow.
That wasn't even on the list. Precious is like...
Hot Rod had like no money, so
yes.
It's funny to me that...
Right.
This movie had
They got him.
So he must be
also true. This movie had no money.
I mean, it was done.
It was true.
That's yeah. All these movies are like, it's just an insane. Oh! I'm so happy he did this. He did the movie Downton Abbey: A New Era.
The one where the American director comes and is shooting in the house. And
stop it. That's just like, oh my gosh.
Full circle.
Full circle.
I did see he did another Julian Fellows, Piccadilly Gym, which had
that's
another Julian Fellows movie.
What an insane career this guy's had. Who cares about the director? Sorry, Robert. Let's talk about Andrew.
Speaking of crazy though, so Julian Fellows, like Mariah mentioned earlier, was an actor, kind of a working actor, and I guess Bob Balaban had been working with him.
I love Bob
on
Balaban
some other project
so much.
And when he was working on this thing with Robert Altman, he was like, "Oh, let's maybe have Julian Fellows try it." And he's this encyclopedic.
Yes.
The fact that he has just a wealth of knowledge alone.
And so this became his first produced movie screenplay, became Oscar winning.
Yeah.
Your first go, you know, we're in the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon territory here, basically, where we've got working actors writing their first screenplay and winning an Oscar for it, is pretty wild. Oh. And it sounds like Robert Altman was great. Like Julian Fellows was on set the whole time. He would rewrite things based off how scenes were working together.
Yeah.
And because of that experience, he could be like, oh, maybe they have this going on. And it's kind of this crazy combo of that working. And then, he came up with this template that was going to make him a lot of money. And success later on with Downton Abbey. Like it was all built in this movie. And to your point, Seth, he just stretched it out.
Yeah.
Like we can just keep knowing a little bit more about each of these characters.
Here we go. Let's just go. Bob Balaban, he went to Colgate University, little smarty pants, little Ivy League, and he's been in every movie ever made. I think that's what his filmography says. He's been in every movie ever made.
Well, a lot of Christopher Guest movies.
Oh my gosh, it's why I love him so much. Just because he's in every single Christopher Guest movie. From Waiting for Godot to they're all so good.
City Slickers
had a great run on
too.
Seinfeld.
Oh, you did? Yeah, that's right.
As the head of NBC programming.
Oh,
Gosh,
that's
he's in
right.
everything. He's just that perfect guy. He's also in Wes Anderson films. The French Dispatch and
Asteroid City.
Well, he's just like a good,
PBS Hotel.
quirky little guy.
Yeah.
And you're like,
He just gets the job done.
yeah, you're weird. You're in a weird and a fun way.
Oh, that's funny. I'm glad he gets paid other ways though. Looks like he produces and stuff, so that's cool.
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay. Where we going from here, guys? We've talked about the plot's crazy, the actors are crazy, the director's insane, and the cinematographer's done every kind of thing you could ever do. So
what about the who could have been in it?
Oh, let's do that. I love this section of the
I only have
podcast.
one real good one for that.
Okay, go
It's
for it.
wild. So Jude Law was gonna play the Ryan Phillippe character.
Oh, that would have been so much better.
And it was a
that would've been
last,
so
last
much better.
minute back out too. It was really close
But
to the beginning.
I was kind of wondering, but he would probably have like a really good accent.
Because he's British.
Was what I was thinking.
Sure.
Yeah, but doing a
So when
Scottish, and then would he do an American?
Yeah, maybe.
He'd have to like fake his Scottish to be bad. He'd have to make his Irish accent wrong somehow.
Well, and then he's got a good American accent, but he would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
that was the one I'd seen. I don't know how you had
great.
Oh, I know. I was listening to an interview with Kelly MacDonald, who I adore.
Yeah,
she's in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah,
we discussed, but
and Harry Potter.
She said Colin Firth. I forget what she was in with Colin Firth. Is so jealous he wasn't in this movie and he was never in Harry Potter.
It was the one with the nanny who gets cuter throughout the movie.
Nanny McPhee?
Yes, she's a Nanny McPhee.
She's in
with Colin Firth.
And it was like Colin Firth was so bummed he wasn't in like this movie. Like he's not been in a bunch of big British movies.
Yeah.
Anyway,
how
I thought that was
funny is it that Colin Firth is too big to be in ensemble pieces? How funny is that? Because he's.
I don't think he is. He's in Love Actually.
Yeah, Love Actually.
Yeah, but Love Actually is not British. Oh, Love Actually is British. Yeah,
it's very British.
So I was thinking Valentine's Day, which is an awkward thing to try.
British.
Oh, yikes!
Do you want to hear the other actors that could have been in this?
Let's go. What other actors you got?
Kenneth Branagh.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As
Robert Bathurst.
Who are these? Okay.
I don't know who Robert Bathurst is. I should probably.
Robert Bathurst. Canadian.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Here
yes,
we go.
I do. He was in Downton Abbey.
And he's British, not Canadian.
For quite a while. Alan Rickman.
What?
Jolie Richardson.
What was Alan Rickman going to be? Just one of the help?
It doesn't. It just says.
Just one of the butlers. He would have been great. He would have been great as one of the butlers.
They were considered.
The head butler? Oh, he would have killed it.
Jolie Richardson.
Or even Richard E. Grant. He could be a little smarmy guy. He'd be good.
Yeah.
I suppose so.
And Judi Dench was also considered.
Yes.
Another dame.
Imagine
if Judi Dench's daughter is in this, though?
Yes.
Or sister. No,
her daughter.
Her daughter. Because she and Maggie Smith are very good friends.
Yeah, and Maggie Smith, because it was saying Maggie Smith's son was in a movie with was in one of the James Bonds with Judi Dench.
Yes.
What? Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's the bad guy in
he's
the
mostly
snowy one with Halle Berry.
He's a bad guy in everything.
I was literally thinking,
he's pretty good at it.
Are you telling me Judi Dench and Maggie Smith are both Bond girls? Because that is the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life.
Could have been.
But no, they were not. That would have been like some like Helen Mirren. I could see it.
Funny.
She could be like old school Bond girl.
But, I think it's funny. Like Helen Mirren looked
the same as she does now.
Yeah,
she looks
look
better now.
Then.
Yeah.
Well, she's got a great,
She looks good.
Whatever they're doing, they're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But that was kind of crazy to me. Like she seemed far older in this movie than she has in like anything since.
The one person I thought did the Emily Watson character was very fun in this movie.
I like her a lot.
Yes.
And it was weird because I'm so used to her playing the older generation rather than the young.
Wasn't she the young one in Punch Drunk? She was the love interest in Punch Drunk.
She's the love interest, and she's so good in that.
She's so good in it.
She's also the blind girl falling in love with the serial killer in Red Dragon.
Oh, that's right.
And she's very good in that.
Oh, so
Who are you thinking of?
have not seen any of those movies.
You haven't seen Punch Drunk Love?
I saw
Get out of this town.
I saw Spanglish.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's the same lead actor.
I know.
It's not the same movie.
I saw Happy Gilmore. It's all the same.
It's not the same, but it had Adam Sandler in it.
Yeah.
It's very good.
I saw
Punch Drunk Love.
I know.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler does
Recommend.
good stuff. 2002. What year later? A year after this, by the
Say-
way. Year after
Say
this.
that's that.
Punch Drunk
Say
Love
that's
is
that,
so
Mattress
old.
Man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hmm.
So I didn't because it was. I wasn't into good movies in 2002.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that one.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's in that too. Oh,
Yeah,
that might be
it's a
next
good
week's movie. That might replace this as your top
It's
10
a
list.
very good movie.
Now that you need to revisit this.
Louise
And
Guzman's
Paul
in
Thomas
it?
Anderson.
I love Louise
Yes,
Guzman.
he's
Except
great.
for I don't like Louise Guzman in the show Wednesday. It's really hard.
Yeah,
It's so
tough.
hard
I rewatched-
because
I rewatched Raul Julia, Adam's Family on Halloween, and
can't
you go, he's very
beat.
good.
You can't beat him. You can't beat the original Addams Family movie actor.
It's pretty good.
He's so good.
So
good.
let's see,
Sorry.
what was the other stuff? I thought it was interesting. I think I mentioned this already. Jeremy Northam's brother is the one who plays the piano
Because he's a professional
in like the piano
pianist.
scenes because
that's
he's a professional pianist.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Jeremy Northam actually singing the songs written by the guy he's playing.
That's great.
That is his plot
I
point,
love that.
or just that they did that. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they worked
Next
with
level.
real Hollywood-ish stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like unnecessary, but kind of delightful in that they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clive, how do you guys feel about Clive Owen?
I was actually.
I love Clive Owen.
I was gonna say he is my top 3 British actor crushes, and because of this movie, he became.
He was
one
My
of them.
wife's as well.
Yeah.
Clive Owen.
Really?
Big fan. She's a big fan of Clive Owen.
And
Him,
the blue eyes are
Colin
stunning.
Firth and Hugh Grant are my try.
Okay. Here's
But
the
that's
thing.
because all of the movies that I loved them in were right around this time or just even before.
I understand Hugh Grant, good-looking guy. I understand Clive Owen. Colin Firth? Is it just because he's in Pride and Prejudice? Is that the only reason why people like
Not
him?
just, but starting with.
That's
yes.
a big
It's a big
part
plus.
of it for sure.
He's just not
He's
like.
the best
he's
Mr.
just-
Darcy.
he's
I
charming.
don't disagree.
Best
He's way
Darcy.
better. I like him and Keira Knightley. I wish they were in it together because they would have been.
Whoa,
It's hot take.
wild.
Hot take. Because I like. I
I'm a
think Keira
big fan
Knightley was
of,
great in the new one.
I don't know the actress's name in that
Yeah,
Colin Firth.
That's
Pride
my
and Prejudice,
point.
but that is who I
You
think
don't
of
even
in that
know.
role.
Jennifer L. and she's great.
She's fine. She's
Yes.
good. But Jennifer, Keira Knightley's amazing. Also the best part of Star Wars. No.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Also in Love Actually, an ensemble with
Awesome.
Colin Firth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do they ever share a scene? I don't think they do.
I don't think so.
Because you know why?
She's
They'll be
in. She's like a B story.
Okay, sorry.
Well, that's the other thing I
Darcy.
think that's so interesting about this movie. like in Love Actually or a lot of other ensembles, they're hardly all ever together. You know, there'll be crossover things.
True.
Like in Love Actually, you're like, well, this character technically is a scene with this one, and so they'll connect
together. Half the time in those ensembles, they don't even meet until the cast party.
4 weddings and a funeral, they're all together most of the time, which is fun.
Yes, but they weren't.
But
like
this is literally like 30 people together,
right?
Constantly,
literally 30 people together, 30
and 4. Well, I don't know how many Oscar winners, but we've got 2 dames, 2 knights.
A lot of BAFTA
during filming,
a lot of BAFTA
3
winners,
more
guys.
of them
a lot of BAFTA winners
after filming,
or whatever the British Emmys are. What are the British?
Well,
Emmys?
and it's like Charles Dance has like 3 lines. He's so good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's true.
You know, we
Emma
get
Thompson's
to
sister,
love to hate him more in
everything
Game of Thrones.
Yep.
She
Tom
was the
Hollander.
Maid. She was the maid that was like, I'd kill for him. That's Emma Thompson's sister.
Oh shit!
Oh,
That's
no
so
way.
Good.
Yeah.
Cal McDonald, Emily Watson, Derek Jacobi, Sir Derek Jacobi, pretty sure. Richard E. Grant, Jeremy Swift, who I was like, why do I know him? And it's like Ted Lasso.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yep.
It's just such a good freaking cast.
You know, for an all-white cast, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Indeed.
era. It's era. It's very funny. It's also like, that's why again I'm so surprised that it's freaking Robert Altman directing. That's like the weirdest thing to me.
It's his second most successful movie.
Ryan Felipe kind of makes sense because they wanted someone like new American actor.
He's the one where I'm like,
it's kind of the most tragic casting.
He's just not good enough.
Well, and he was you know, quote unquote, the bad guy in it, and he pulled off being unlikable. That's for sure.
No, he didn't.
He's very unlikable.
I didn't even not like him. I just didn't care. He wasn't good enough to not be likable. Because that's the thing. Like, to be unlikable, you kind of have to be a pretty good actor.
He kind of has no charisma. No offense to him. Right?
And honestly,
he's
right.
He's a beautiful man.
He's not.
I'll say that
think
for him.
Cruel Intentions would be better with someone else. That's a hot take, guys. I think
Cruel Intentions. That's his best work.
It is his best work.
Everything else is.
It is his best
and
work.
I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer a couple months ago, and I thought, pretty bad. Freddie Prinze.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze is doing
Freddie
a lot
Prinze
better
Jr.
work
was
here.
the winner of that
Oh,
one.
Freddie
for
Prinze
sure.
Jr. You can't go wrong with him.
Or what's his face from Roseanne.
Oh yeah, great.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Yeah, way better.
So much better. He's got the chops. Every week he had a show out. Come on, he's got the chops.
That's right.
A couple of. I guess we got fun. Do we got fun facts?
Here we go, guys. Time? Let's do some.
I'm gonna leave
facts.
them to Pat because I know this was your film.
I didn't have a ton that I like wrote down normally like from IMDb, but I watched a lot of like interviews and things, and it was interesting. I think this was maybe in the IMDb. Like, so financing for this movie was done partially by the British Lottery.
What?
Yes, so the British Lottery finances movies.
They couldn't.
They
couldn't afford to make it, even with all the actors not taking a salary. Not like there.
And they only got $2 million.
Not in the
not
beginning.
A lot of people were like, "I want to work with Robert Altman."
Yeah.
Maggie Smith was like the second person to sign up for this movie. I think Kelly MacDonald was first, and then it was Maggie Smith, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, I'll do this."
Yeah,
but it was only $2 million.
Yeah,
only $2 million, and you're like, that's the difference between this getting made or not. It's $2 million. That feels crazy.
$2 million came from the lottery, or $2 million because the movie.
$2 million came from the lottery.
Oh, okay.
No, it came from the lottery.
There we go.
Which I guess that's a decent chunk of that. But yeah, and Julian Fellows was saying normally it's known for producing real crap, and this one was like worked out pretty well.
And Altman said he won
whatever
the
lottery funded.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. The lottery pays for movies in England. What is going on?
Well, they're not funding schools,
it's like
apparently.
Or football. You mean football teams?
Or football teams.
Canada kind of similar
football
thing.
Teams.
apparently Kristen Scott Thomas was kind of a not the nicest on this set.
Really?
Very difficult.
And she didn't realize it quite at the time. Although she's like, I'd come into rooms and everyone kind of stopped talking. She's like, I ended up apologizing to everybody for it. But she's like, maybe being in the character, I just was kind of a jerk.
She said in retrospect, she's like, I feel like I was in character half.
Oh, that's funny.
And so then I just kind of was that.
Oh, I forget.
Icky.
She's in The English Patient.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's like her big role.
Later becomes a dame, not a dame at this time, but does become a dame.
Darkest Hour.
She was also in the first
Random
Mission Impossible.
Hearts.
She doesn't last very long.
And she was also in. She was. Oh, you're right.
She goes too close to that fence. Like, just he can't stab you from that far away.
Have you watched that movie recently?
Pretty recently.
It is gorgeously shot. Like
it's great.
It looks like an
art
movie. Film. Like the colors in it don't make sense as a mission. Then you watch the new Mission Impossible, you're like, this is crap. No, I mean this is different.
It's fun crap.
It's the same storylines. He's jumping off another helicopter. What is going on?
That's all I want. That's all I need.
I have not watched one since.
But the first one is a legit mystery.
It's a legit art movie. It's so well shot.
I haven't watched one since Mission Impossible 2, I think.
And now they are just another.
They're fun.
They are fun. But the first one is amazing, and you forget. It's crazy how good it is. It has no business.
First one's great.
Should I keep watching Fast and the Furious movies too?
Well, first of all, yes, you should.
Up to a point. Up to a point, 100%.
It's kind of the same thing right now. Like later Mission Impossible and Fast and Furious, you're kind of getting the same ball.
5 and 6.
I think I was
and maybe
busy
7
watching Downton Abbey, and I couldn't.
Are amazing.
Okay.
5, 6, and 7, I think, are really.
Or are we Fast and Furious?
Fast and Furious.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Hey, I like Tokyo Drift, and everyone hates that one. I love Tokyo Drift.
They pulled those characters later, and it's fun.
They did.
Anyway,
it was kind of rough. Anyway,
we should not talk about those movies.
Hey, you know who loves Fast and Furious?
Christopher Nolan.
Christopher freaking Nolan. He loves them. Anyway, so that's my point.
They're very enjoyable. They're very enjoyable, as dumb as they are.
Like, literally the most snobby director, popular snobby director of our era, loves Fast and Furious. That is the funniest thing to... The guy who brings a new film stock and makes theaters in L.A. build a new freaking camera.
It's like his Real Housewives.
It is. It's like
guilty pleasure.
Guys, I've watched the latest Fast and Furious.
I have to tell you.
You need it.
I secretly watched Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, so good.
I had a good run in my birthday movie days, where Fast and Furious would be out, and I'd be like, 9 a.m. Fast and Furious. Let's kick this day off
that's
right.
Amazing. That's amazing.
You know,
okay,
you got a 9 a.m. hot dog with Fast and Furious. You're good to go.
Awful.
That is as bad as golfers
and
drinking
to the bathroom. Fast and Furious.
The other thing I heard, so Stephen Fry was being interviewed about his experience with the movie, and he said Maggie Smith was like, "Do you know what this movie's about?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "Well, I don't know either." You know? So it was apparently people making it weren't really sure what the heck the movie was.
That's so good.
And apparently also Stephen Fry's character, like the only thing he really got from Robert Altman was just like what he should wear. And that's a big thing with Robert Altman, was like, he's not going to tell you how to act. He hires you because you're a good actor, but he'll be like, you should wear these shoes. You know, this hat is,
it's
I want you to wear this hat.
Accurate for that piece.
No, because there's the visuals. He's specific about what he wants it to look like and feel like.
He's basically Wes Anderson.
But he's not.
I think this fits the director.
Okay.
MO.
On that thing, some fun facts that you probably already know. The jewelry worn by the aristocratic
upstairs
is legit. They had to have armed guards every day on set, back and forth, to do that. Also, same thing, because if you're going to the aesthetic, the people downstairs couldn't wear makeup to be filmed. Which is why
makeup they could.
Yes, but not like
they did it themselves.
But not.
Yeah, they could wear lipstick.
Which is why Helen Mirren looks like 10 years older than she does now.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So that makes sense with your whole, yeah.
Also, apparently the house they used, they brought in wallpaper from Europe for a room. Also, this is a really cheap movie.
Painted wallpaper.
How much?
Really?
Like $20,000 to import this wallpaper.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the owners of the house were like, "You got to change it back because it needs to match our furniture. The wallpaper has to match our furniture."
Of course,
Like
it
their
does.
bedding, I think. I think it was.
The bedding.
Yeah, it was like you're
so
gonna keep
good.
that bedding. You can't like keep the $20,000 wallpaper that was hand painted. Like
That's
I would
so
change the
good.
bedding.
Yeah, that was wild.
Gosh.
Another one unrelated to this movie, but I thought it was funny because we've. The other thing Robert Altman directed was Mr. and Mrs. McCabe? What's that one called?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I believe, is what it's called.
No.
Brad Pitt, right?
Apologies. Research team's on it.
Beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, beep. We'll be back shortly. Research team.
Anyway, there's a shot in the movie.
McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Okay, McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Yeah, McCabe. Oh, that's it. Warren Beatty and Julie Christie.
Yeah, so apparently there's a shot in that movie, and I haven't seen it. I did see the clip where there's a guy lighting up a cigar or cigarette across this bridge. It's kind of foggy out, and you see the flame really big. And
that guy really lit
Stanley Kubrick called Robert Altman up and was like, "How did you do that shot?" And who was your cinematographer? He's like, "Oh, actually, I was filming that day because our cinematographer had to fly home or something." He's like, "Well, how did you know you got the lighting, to work?" And he's like, "I didn't. I just hoped I did." And Stanley Kubrick was like, "What?"
No.
So the differences between directing styles. And he was super blown away by this shot, but how he would get there is so different.
I think
really
he
fun.
just did all the front work and then just trusted that it was all going to be
lets
fine.
It go.
That's great. That's great. We got to talk about the birds.
Actually, one more thing about Robert Altman.
Okay.
Can we just call out Robert Altman also directed Popeye?
Yes. I love that.
No one loved
Live
that.
action
I watched it.
Popeye.
It almost ruined.
Well, once it hit TV, I watched it a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was on TV.
We almost didn't have the genie for Aladdin because of that movie. That movie
Shelley
almost,
Duvall
song
in that movie is so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Loved.
I love him.
Rest in peace, Shelley Duvall. Actually, and Robin Williams, they're both gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I looked this up because I like those look like real birds. We gotta talk about the birds.
There's nothing written at the end of the movie about humane blah blah blah.
No, because they killed all those birds. Those birds were legit shot.
They probably really kicked that dog too.
Was that thrown? I think it was thrown. They didn't kick it. She threw it.
No, it's a different part where.
It.
Oh, okay.
Kristen Scott Thomas is like, "Get away from me."
Oh, she kicked
and
the
dog yelps.
Wow.
I do love
it wasn't real clear.
I do love that Emily Watson took the dog in the end. That made me happy.
That's pretty great. The R rating was surprising to me.
It seemed petty.
Yeah. It seemed ridiculous because I'm like, this is my junior high mind. I'm like, so we're definitely going to see naked people. You didn't see naked people, but you heard the F word a lot.
Just enough times
you heard
to get the
F
rating.
Word just enough because then apparently they didn't want any kids to watch the dang movie. That is hilarious.
Yes. Robert Altman didn't want people to come in because the other thing, I forget where he said it.
He just didn't want kids to come watch it and go, "What is this?" or hate
boring.
it. Yeah.
He knew people. He knew people had to pay attention also. And he was like, "You got to pay attention to this movie. Otherwise you will not know what's happening." I kind of also love that. Times. This isn't even for everyone.
Yeah.
Although this is the second most successful behind MASH movie.
Isn't that crazy? Of all the things he's done, this is number 2 most successful.
Yeah. I believe I saw this in the theater with our mothers in Salem.
Both of our mothers. Well, Salem, it must have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very popular.
At the old Salem Cinema. Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. There we go. Doesn't exist anymore.
No, not there. That was a fun little theater.
So should we summarize our takeaways from this movie?
Yeah. I got one more thing. This won some awards, Pat. We got to talk about it. It won an Oscar.
Oh, it did.
And what did it win? Did it win for Best Director?
No.
No.
Julian got it.
Yes. Again, from nothing to I think I feel like
Zero
the
to
Oscars
hero, Julian.
do that. They either give you like a sorry we didn't get you last year award, or they get you, hey, you're a new person, let's get you while you're up and coming. I feel like that's
fresh on the scene.
That is side note, I just read the book called Oscar Wars, and it goes through every single Oscar ever. And they're kind of dumb.
Slightly political, you would say.
Not even political. Like, that would be a step in the right direction for some years. It's just, it's so, I mean, it's hard because we're coming off of the Harvey Weinstein era. So when we do the next Oscar era movies, it's just rough because they are never, it's so jaded compared to maybe other awards. Like, the only reason why we watch Citizen Kane is because of France and England. No one in America liked it. It's just crazy stuff like that. So
what's the deal? What did Shakespeare in Love beat? This is a big Harvey Weinstein doing.
Freaking Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
And okay, it gets worse. We speaking of Robin Williams winning an Oscar, that's a Harvey Weinstein movie.
Bicentennial Man.
But so Matt Damon,
Patch Adams,
and then you wouldn't have Quentin Tarantino without him. You wouldn't have Daniel Day-Lewis's first Oscar, also Harvey Weinstein, My Left Foot. Yeah, isn't that crazy? So it's jaded. Everything that we know as good actors is jaded by Miramax.
And as people who are out to become movie snobs, and you think that the Oscars is a standard for snobbery, like it won the Oscar because it was so good. It's not necessarily.
Well, and I think some of the categories. I think some of the categories.
I think the nominations are generally. I mean, not Mission Impossible.
Let's be real.
Or not Top Gun.
No.
Was it Top Gun that got
Remember,
Maverick?
We just talked about the government of Germany wasn't willing to back up.
And
no, it's all stupid.
Well, I mean, some people don't get nommed, but
yes,
I think
because
a
lot
of the nominations are because.
Yeah. So the bummer, this is the uncomfortable truth. Harvey Weinstein had pretty good taste in movies. That's the uncomfortable truth.
He did.
The less comfortable truth.
I think that's fine. Like, yeah, he did. He was also a horrible human being.
He was a horrible human being. And
there's lots of
contain multitudes.
horrible human beings out there.
So it's interesting, like this one, Gosford Park, is the writing the best part of it, or is it the director who put it all together? It's hard to say. That's the hard part about it. Does the Oscar mean the writing's better than
I think the backstories of the ensemble is amazing.
Right?
I happen to think Julian maybe really earned it on this.
It's interesting.
But he did get he did get set up. I don't know how much information they gave him, but they said,
"Well,
we're writing
that's
this."
what I was going to say. I love that they have the credit based on an idea from Bob Balaban and Robert Altman.
Yeah,
like it's not even story by and screenplay by. It's an idea.
Yeah.
Very
That's
similar
pretty
to
legit.
After Earth, which was based on an idea by Will Smith, written by M. Night Shyamalan. So in good company. To have an idea that some poor schmo has to go try and make. And sometimes they turn into Gosford Park, and other times they turn into After Earth.
It can't all be winners.
That's great. But Gosford Park was nominated for 7 awards. So, like, legit, it was acknowledged as a great movie of his day. So I think we have to put Gosford Park in. Yes, it's a pretty good movie. Like whether you want to admit it or not, and yes, as much as I give it crap, Gosford Park is a good movie. It's taking the genre and doing it to the best ability. It's putting all the cards on the table, not skimping on anything except for maybe the murder solving part. But other than that, like it really is all in on this genre. It's not new. It's not super inventive, but it's real good.
But I would say the snobbery can come in that, like, they intentionally didn't invest in a complicated murder mystery, but it had the form of one. Mm-hmm. And the approach to how they shot things was fairly inventive. And so there's a lot of like
where they
choices.
Placed the value in the plot.
Sure, if you call
was
inventive,
very inventive.
If you call inventive doing it 50 years after Kurosawa, sure, that's fine.
Well, another thing Robert Altman talked about was like, the reason he was able to do it this way is because it wasn't to make much money, and he didn't have studios being like, I need you to make a movie like I want a movie to look.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which,
so he didn't have to.
It did make money though. That's the irony. It made like $80 million in the box office.
It was commercially successful, and it wasn't even widely shown either.
And the fact that literally one of the three of us saw it in theater is pretty impressive for 2001.
I wonder if I went with
Well, you guys might not have been old enough to watch a rated R movie at the time.
I was just old enough.
2001.
I
was old enough. But I was sure not going to go see Gosford Park with my mom.
No, I probably was excited. I probably did go see it.
Like a man.
It was beautiful.
I bet it was great.
But yeah, I think it's got, because it's Robert Altman, because it's British,
that's so
because it's a period piece, because it's setting off, like it is the precursor to at least the new revelation or revolution around this upstairs downstairs stuff. Mm-hmm. It's checking a lot of snobby boxes.
So you're telling me this is like, I watch the original Office, I don't watch the American Office? Is it that sort of thing? Like I don't watch.
It's more
it's the
like
same writer. It's you just.
It's more like I also watch the original Office.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
I
like
can
so
still
that
watch.
Because the American Office is also great. Everybody.
It's great.
You can like both of them.
And because the American Office becomes its own thing, for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
But it stood on the shoulders of giants, and in this case, this is a giant.
Yes. Is Gosford Park snobby, Mariah? Go.
Yeah, I think it has some snobbiness.
Some snobbiness.
Mm-hmm.
I think almost any Robert Altman movie
I think it's
is
a C
somewhat
plus
snobby.
You think?
It's not an A plus.
Well, I shouldn't say that.
I was like,
he did direct Popeye.
Let's go back to his
he did direct
filmography.
Popeye. That's true.
I don't think What a Girl Wants was very snobby.
Popeye, Mr. T and the Women,
Oh, I liked that movie.
Or Dr. T and the Women.
That was good.
So
There's
good.
a few in there where you're like, okay, yeah, I don't know what you're doing, Robert, but
that movie was
a lot
quirky.
of his stuff is fairly snobby.
Nashville's legit, and MASH, the original movie, was like ahead of its time. Obviously, it spawned off a TV show.
The Player is great.
Yeah, and it's
you want to understand Hollywood.
Yeah,
of that time anyway.
Right.
It's
pretty
wonderful.
Great. And Nashville, I don't know if you guys seen Nashville.
No,
I have not seen Nashville.
So Nashville is basically a take on the city of Nashville, but it's very.
Is it like the show?
No.
I didn't watch that either.
It's more like there's not really like a real plot. Kind of, you're just kind of going through different things of seeing, and what's good about Nashville is the music throughout it. It's a very. It's kind of like something you've never seen before in that era, and it's like, because when it came out, 1975, it was like New Hollywood. It was very avant-garde, just very different, and so it's weird that he goes from MASH, like this comedy, to this musical, not quite
dramedy.
Yeah, not even and then a satire, and then so it is. He's just all over the place. Are they snobby? Sometimes, kind of. Nationally snobby for sure. And then I haven't seen The Player, but it sounds kind of snobby.
It's snobby-ish.
Popeye's snobby in the fact that like no one watched it. I guess like that.
Or when they did not like it.
They did not tell people about it.
But that again, another one in our childhood that I was like, yeah, I'm down for Popeye.
Yeah, we watched it.
Hey, A Prairie Home Companion, I enjoyed that too. You know, that was.
I did.
Unfortunately,
although I didn't like it as much as Gosford Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Another kind of unfortunate revelation later.
Yes. Garrison Keillor's.
We don't need to get into that.
We don't get into that. Speaking of Harvey Weinstein. Anyways, so Gosford Park, Pat, this is what we got to know.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm surprised this is on your top 10. I understand the cultural significance, but it is a genre that's been well played out. And is this good? Maybe the best movie in this genre. I'll even give it that. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. TV shows may have done it better, but you know what? For a movie, this is the
Only
best.
because they had more time.
Whatever excuse you got to tell yourselves.
Development.
This is maybe the best movie of its genre. I will give you that. Sure.
Oh, could you imagine Clive Owen's character if he'd gotten like seasons?
Oh my gosh, it'd be amazing. Or imagine if the real actor they got instead of Felipe. Yeah. So I'll give you that. But Pat, is this still in your top 10? I gotta know.
Drum roll. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
Ooh,
do I know what replaced it? No, I don't.
Okay.
I still came away from this being pretty in love with it in a lot of ways.
Nice.
But it does take a pretty big hit post Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
Because it just lost. It lost, I think, what to me when I initially had seen it, that freshness, that vantage point from the servants. Because again, like Upstairs Downstairs had come out, but
that was like mid-70s, so it wasn't like something that we were really aware of.
No,
very much.
And I don't think it was up to the quality, that this or Downton Abbey got to. Where I am like so compelled by the backstories of all these people that you're used to just seeing coming in and out of a scene. Mm-hmm. And going, yes, and then they leave, right? Like, the fact that they were the focal point in a lot of ways in this movie was pretty novel at the time. And I think it just loses some of that luster again, because most of us watched at least a few seasons of Downton Abbey.
Some people quit when people died.
When Matthew Crawley, Dan Stevens wanted to go do Legion, great show. It lost a little luster.
I do have to say, I was watching the show. I was, of course, caught up. My wife started later. My mom literally asked my wife, "Are you to the part where he dies yet?" She was one episode away from finding out that he dies. One episode away. I couldn't. I was laughing so hard. I couldn't believe it.
Brutal.
Oh, my mom.
Classic.
Thanks, Liz. You did get.
What's the worst thing I can say to you to spoil this for
you?
Has he died?
So I'm gonna. Yeah, it's brutal. That was a brutal. I was like, okay, this show is dumb now. But then I was very happy. I'm a fan of Dan Stevens after that.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it stays in the top 10, but I think I still
20?
love so much about it. Yeah, I think it's still in the top 20.
It takes a big man to admit that he's wrong, and I appreciate that about you. Just know
it's a great, and it was a fun watch.
Yeah,
and Seth got to watch it too.
Honestly, I wanted to know the preamble to Downton Abbey was nice. Ironically enough, the Downton Abbey is actually earlier chronologically than this, which
is why it wasn't the spinoff.
You can 100%, literally Maggie Smith is the same character.
It's the same
that's
character.
What's so crazy about
it.
And she's so, again, at the time you're like, whoa, Maggie Smith, this is such a cool take on this kind of harsh, whatever, countess character. But then you get it for a bunch of time, and you're like, well, that's what Maggie Smith does. Not until this movie.
Yeah.
Exactly
it's right. Well, and she was kind of weak and dependent in this movie too. I mean, it wasn't quite the full-blown character that is the Countess, but
she's begging for money still.
Yeah, she was.
All that was good.
But
she didn't have the money
fun of
to
the
back
American
it up.
actor, though. She still made fun of the American actor.
Oh,
which is that was a great scene.
I do love the
also big
of
shout
the
out.
Americans.
Shout out to the actress who plays the not aristocratic wife, but her dad owned a factory, right? Like the husband's real sleazeball.
Charlotte Lucas.
She's so sad, but like how she brightens up with Jeremy Northam being like sweet to her.
Yeah, that was sweet. I love that.
It's such a nice thing, and you're like, your life kind of sucks, and everyone is giving you crap, especially Maggie Smith. And she's just so sweet as a character.
Speaking of the Pride and Prejudice, she is married to what's-his-face, who was financially ruined, potentially, in Pride and Prejudice, the 05 one, with Keira Knightley.
Oh.
She's Charlotte, and he's the minister cousin. Mr. Collins.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Nice stuff. All right, Pat. Well, thanks for introducing this movie that was formerly in your top 10.
Yeah.
That's nice, though. That's kind of fun. I still kept mine in my top 10, but I might be, later persuaded that Hero's not the best wuxia movie ever.
I think I'd be shocked if we all kept the top 10.
Yeah, for sure. With all the movies
well,
you've seen.
There's nostalgia, recency bias, all this stuff is mixed into that list.
The mood
and until you rewatch them all,
the time of day.
Yeah, until you rewatch them all, it's like, okay, it does. The shine is off a little bit.
Okay,
but I still adore a lot of this movie.
Solid movie.
And I think you should watch it.
If I had a good bit get stuck watching a movie with my mom, this would be it. You know, Pat, this would be
She'll
great.
be delighted.
Oh, guys, we just finished talking about the amazing, but kind of not as amazing as it used to be, Gosford Park. Great ensemble cast, and director and cinematographer. Just all stars at all positions here.
And writer.
And a great writer. Yeah, first one for a great career. But sad news, guys. Spoiler: Pat has taken this off his top 10. So this is just another movie that we've watched. It's no longer
just a good movie.
Just a good movie. Guys, thanks for listening. Please subscribe. Please check that box that says give me more of this content. Otherwise, my name is Seth.
Mariah.
And
Patrick.
Oh, you're going multiple syllables here.
It's more formal.
It sounds so much better. Patrick. And we are How to Be a Movie Snob. And until next week, keep watching movies. Bye.
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 Oh, this was a doozy, by the way. In case you wanted a doozy corner.
I do love your bolo hat.
It's a doozy.